Hi, good evening, traders. This is Shubhankar here from Quantsapp. Welcome back to this particular webinar. So, as you all might be knowing, that we have started a new webinar series when we try to go live on YouTube on Wednesdays as well as Saturdays, wherein the idea of these sessions is to keep the learning process for our Quantsapp family members in continuation. So today's session, as you all might have gone through the thumbnail as well of YouTube, as well as the title in the meeting, wherein today's title is about being prepared for tomorrow's expiry. So in today's session, we will try to learn two different strategies where what we can go ahead and try to initiate tomorrow depending on different market situation. So first, for option sellers, we will try to understand what type of strategy which we can do, and first we will understand the rules and why we are doing that. Second thing is, we will try to understand a strategy which will be very effective if we are going ahead and buying options on an expiry day. So talking about expiry days, there is a lot of myth about traders for expiry day to buy a zero to hero option, right? So what ideally participants try to do is they will try to buy an far OTM call option which has, or put option which has totally decayed, and the premium left over there is only due to time. It is most probably going to go zero, right? And they expect it to get doubled, right? So every time if we keep on doing that, trust me, if we take hundreds of trades and only 30 or 20 out of them are going to work out. The reason being that we are going ahead and placing a bet against the Greeks, against the option Greeks. So in today's session, we will try to first fix that. And the second thing would be, if we are doing that, how we can go ahead and do it in a systematic and an optimal way is something what we will try to learn. So in today's session, we are going to use the tools such as open interest. We will use built-ups to just have a quick look on the markets. Then most importantly, looking at how the implied volatility is placed right now for an option seller is very important. So we will look how the IVs are placed of Nifty so that it optimizes our tomorrow's trade. And also we will use the tool of Max Pain, and most important for option buyers and even for option sellers too, the order and trade chart. Okay, the charts, and we will use the order and trade book data, so which is an institutional level data. This type of data was previously in hands of institutions wherein they used to scalp options. So using this data now, we retail can also go ahead and scalp options in a systematic and in a data driven way. Okay, so let's try to first kickstart this session, and I would again like to welcome you all to this exclusive webinar series. And if you have any doubts or queries, do let me out. Do let me know out in the chat box, and also if you got the idea so far, so you can appreciate us with an thumbs up button and also hit the subscribe button. So all these tools are available on our web application, which is web.quantsapp.com. You can access the tools over here, and also you can download our Android application as well as the iOS application for the Play Store and the App Store. So let's start this session. Okay. So just to show you that there are options, they are not just sensitive to one variable, right? Matlab, options, they are not just affected by how the underlying price move, but they are affected by a lot of other variables such as time, such as volatility, right? Time affects our option premium, but it also depends that where we are placed in terms of expiry curve and how the time affects our option, right? If you see this expiry, 19th of May expiry, with the expiry is tomorrow, the theta for 16,400 call option is 23. Now what is theta? Everybody might be knowing it, but just to explain what is theta, theta is the time which is going to get decayed from your option premium if you hold that option for one more days. Okay, basically how much premium in your option is due to time and how much it is going to get decayed if you hold it for one more days is something what is showed us to by theta. So theta out here is showing us 23, which means if I hold this option for one more day till expiry, the 23 rupees of this option are going to get decayed due to theta. Now coming to the second scenario. If I see 26th May expiry, theta for 16,400 call, the theta is just 10, right? Same strike price, same instrument. The difference is the expiry, when that option is going to get expired. So if the expiry is far off, the theta will be very less. So you can manage that risk. But whenever the expiry, so the instant expiry, that will have a faster theta decay, a far month expiry will have a slower theta decay. Okay. So now what we are trying to capitalize on is that theta. That tomorrow being an expiry day, the theta might decay at a faster pace, right? That's the number one thing. Number two thing is basically, some of you might be knowing it, some of you might not be knowing it, that even the delta, okay, even the delta, so we understood theta, now let's understand delta. So delta in simple words is how much your option premium is going to get affected due to 1 point move in the underlying. Okay, so this 0.47 delta tells you that if Nifty goes up by 1 point from here, this option will go up by 0.47 paisa. If Nifty goes 10 points up from here, this option will go up by 4.7 rupees. Okay, so delta is, it shows you first how much your option premium is going to change due to change in the underlying price. Okay, so which is the absolute change, obviously. Now coming to the second scenario, that this delta, that is also showing us the probability of our option expiring in the money. Okay, so if you see this delta, which is 0.47 for 16 to 50 call for 19th May expiry, that will be something different for 26th May expiry. So that delta has gone up by 0.49. That tells you that, okay, this option will be more sensitive to the underlying price, number one, because the delta is 0.49. But as there are more days left to the expiry, slightly, marginally, the probability of this option strike to expire in the money has also increased. Okay, that was the first thing about delta. Coming to the second thing. So second thing is such that for OTM options, the delta will decay at a faster pace. For OTM options, when we are closer to the expiry, specifically on an expiry day, the delta will also decay with time. The reason is very simple. If I just show you the delta of 16,400 call option over here, the delta is 0.18, right? If I show it to you for 26th May expiry, the delta is almost double. It is 0.36, because Nifty has more time left to reach 16,400 till if we are selecting the expiry as 26th of May. If I'm selecting expiry as 26th of May, Nifty has more, I would say, 1 week to reach up till there, up till 16,400. But if I'm selecting 19th of May, Nifty has just 1 day to reach up till there, right? So the delta is decayed. So tomorrow you might see that OTM options, I'm not saying about ITMs or ATMs, you might see the OTM options might see a delta decay. The delta is decaying at a faster pace. The reason being that these options, they are turning rapidly out of the money. Okay, their probability of going in the money is very less, and the probability of these options going in the money is decaying at a faster pace. Okay, so you got an idea. So the idea is that theta for this expiry decays a bit more, I would say at almost double what it is decaying on 26th of May expiry, number one. Number two, that delta also tells us that even the delta of this OTM options, it is decaying, right? Because Nifty does not have a lot of time left to lift up, to go up till 16,400. So by default, the probability of this option going in the money, it keeps on reducing as the time passes by, right? So this thing, it shows us that theta is decaying fast, and the delta might also decay for OTM options if the time keeps on passing by, because Nifty will not have a lot of time left to move up till 16,400. So that brings us to the first strategy. So our first strategy is creating a short straddle or a strangle, but looking at some data points. So first, let's look at some data points, and then let's try to go ahead and analyze the strategy and understand the rule of it. ठीक है, so let's summarize it in Hindi. So हमने क्या समझा अब तक कि जो डेल्टा है, तो पहले थीटा समझाता हूं. तो जो थीटा है, तो ये वाले एक्सपायरी में 37 रुपीज थीटा डीके हो रहा है 17,250 के कॉल का, है ना. 26 में एक्सपायरी का जो अगर हम थीटा देखेंगे सेम स्ट्राइक प्राइस का 12 रुपया थीटा हो रहा है. तो थीटा क्या है, अगर आप वो खरीदा हुआ ऑप्शन एक और दिन होल्ड करते हैं तो ऑप्शन में से आपका कितना प्रीमियम टाइम लेकर के जाएगा. हम सभी को पता है कि ऑप्शन में टाइम का भी कंपोनेंट है, दैट हमारा ऑप्शन प्रीमियम टाइम से भी अफेक्टेड है. तो वो हमें कौन सा एलिमेंट बताएगा, वो हमें बताएगा थीटा, कि कितना इंपैक्ट आएगा. तो वो बोल रहा है कि 11 रुपया 26 में एक्सपायरी वाले का थीटा डीके होगा, जो हमको ये बताता है कि कल वाले एक्सपायरी का ज्यादा तेज डीके होगा. तो अगर इफ आई एम सेलिंग एन ऑप्शन, tomorrow's expiry will give me a much more faster return as compared to 26 में वाला expiry. So that is the first thing. दूसरा बात अगर हम समझे तो डेल्टा अगर आप 17,400 के कॉल का देखेंगे और आप अगर 16,400 के आप कॉल का देखेंगे 26 में वाला डबल है, वो 18 था, ये 36 है. तो ये बताता है आपको कि जैसे जैसे टाइम करीब आएगा एक्सपायरी का, ये डेल्टा भी डीके होना स्टार्ट हो जाएगा, क्योंकि ये ऑप्शन में प्रोबेबिलिटी जो है इन द मनी एक्सपायर होने का वो कम हो जाता है. तो सिंपल सा सिनारियो दू, अगर 19th ऑफ मे है, आज मान लेते हैं एक्सपायरी डे है अभी, ठीक है, तो 16,250 से मार्केट 16,400 जाने में टाइम बहुत कम बचा है ना. तो ये ऑप्शन को तो जीरो होना ही है ना. तो जीरो कैसे होगा कि वो ऑप्शन प्रीमियम का डेल्टा ही इतना कम हो जाएगा कि वो ऑप्शन प्रीमियम प्राइस से ज्यादा सेंसिटिव ही ना बचेगा, है ना, और उसका प्रोबेबिलिटी भी कम बच जाएगा. देन 26th ऑफ मे एक्सपायरी का अगर हम देखेंगे तो 36 है. तो ये व्हाट दिस मैथमेटिक्स टेल यू कि निफ्टी के पास 26 और एक हफ्ता है ना, 16,400 जाने तक का, इसलिए द डेल्टा इज 0.36. इट हैज मच मोर हायर प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ एक्सपायरिंग इन द मनी देन टुमारो 16,400. ठीक है, सो बाय दिस थिंग आर वी ट्राइंग टू गेज कि मार्केट 16,400 जाएगा या नहीं. नो, वी आर नॉट ट्राइंग टू गेज दैट, बट हम यही समझने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि जो ओटीएम डेल्टाज है उसका जो डेल्टा है ओटीएम स्ट्राइक्स का डेल्टा, वो डीके होगा जैसे जैसे हम एक्सपायरी के बहुत ज्यादा करीब पहुंच जाएंगे, बिकॉज वो ऑप्शन को जीरो होना ही है ओटीएम स्ट्राइक के. सो अभी आते हैं हम, ये जो हमें ये कंक्लूजन पे लाता है कि एक शॉर्ट स्ट्रैडल और स्ट्रैंगल विद बी एन ऑप्टिमल स्ट्रेटेजी टू टैकल दिस. थीटा का बेनिफिट मिलेगा, डेल्टा डीके हो जाएगा, तो उसकी वजह से प्रीमियम डीके हो जाएगा, प्रीमियम ज्यादा सेंसिटिव नहीं बचेगा स्ट्राइक से, तो जिसकी वजह से आई एम विनिंग ऑन थीटा एंड आई एम ऑल्सो विनिंग ऑन डेल्टास. तो आई एम नेचुरली ऑन एन एज, है ना. बाकी सारा जो हम ट्रेड्स ले रहे हैं, अगर हम बाय करते हैं ऑप्शन, ये सारा मेरे अगेंस्ट जाता है ना. बट जस्ट बाय चेंजिंग आवर स्ट्रेटेजी एंड चेंजिंग आवर एनालिसिस पर्सपेक्टिव, हमने क्या किया बेसिकली, वी आई वुड से चेंज द एंटायर गेम एंड वी आर पुटिंग मोर थिंग्स इन आवर फेवर. ठीक है, सो आगे बढ़ने से पहले हमको थोड़ा कुछ एनालिसिस करना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज नॉट एवरी टाइम यू कैन सिंपली गो अहेड एंड डू दैट एंड इनिशिएट दैट. देयर आर सम रूल्स व्हिच आई विल टेल यू, बट सम एनालिसिस इज रिक्वायर्ड बिफोर दैट. सो पहला चीज इज बिल्ट अप सिंबल देखिए. ऑप्शन राइटिंग में जो जो लोग ऑप्शन राइट करते हैं, हम सभी को पता होगा ना कि ऑप्शन राइटिंग में हमको एक ही चीज चाहिए कि मार्केट फंसा रहे, है ना. तो मार्केट फंसा रहने के लिए हमको क्या देखना है कि कितना स्टॉक्स लॉन्ग पे है, कितना स्टॉक शॉर्ट पे है. ओके, सो आई विल जस्ट explain कि first thing for an option writer, what he wants is that he wants the markets to be trapped in a particular zone. Why? And especially for an tomorrow's trade, we want market to get stuck so that I am getting time benefit as well as the delta benefit, right? The delta which is DK. Number two scenario is that more time market gets trapped in a particular zone, more beneficial it is for me. So if I see long, so I am in built up tool, it shows me number of stocks witnessing a long. So it witnessed, it sees that 41 stocks witnessed a long built up, 44 stocks witnessed a long unwinding, 67 witnessed a short, and 48 witnessed a short covering. Now what we are trying to do? Are we trying to predict where the markets are going to go? I would say no. We are trying to gauge the sentiments. If I say that, okay, there are 120 stocks on long and 90 stocks on short, that tells you that the market breadth is balanced, right? But if I tell you that, okay, 180 stocks are on long side and just 20 stocks are on short, I would say the market has more stocks trending on the upside. We might see an up move from there, right? So we are not trying to gauge where the markets are going to go, but we are trying to identify how market breadth is placed and if the market is trending on either of the side. Okay. If I see that, okay, there are a lot of stocks, market breadth is heavily dominated by bulls, most preferably I will let the markets to settle down to come at a much more lower level so that the market gets trapped in that level, right? So you can come at the built up, you can see how many stocks are on long and short side, which will help you with eventually forming an bias. Second thing, if you want to gauge and form a much more firm bias on the markets key, or I would say a directional bias on the market, this is something what you can use, which is the built up future OIH. The black dotted curve on the graph is showing us price. Blues are showing you long unwindings. Yellows are showing you short coverings. Reds are showing you shorts. Greens are showing you short covering. So just for an instance that 8th of April, so which is since 1 month, Nifty has just witnessed 1, 2, 3. Just 3 long built up since then. So this up move, which is due to a short covering, will not surprise us if this up move which has happened, which does not sustain, है ना? So हम क्या जानने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि हम एक मार्केट पे बायस फॉर्म करने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जहां पर ये पूरा डेटा हमको क्या बता रहा है, जो रेड कलर का बार है हमको शॉर्ट बिल्टअप बता रहा है, ग्रीन कलर का बार हमको लॉन्ग बिल्टअप बता रहा है, ब्लूज आर शोइंग अस लॉन्ग अनवाइंडिंग्स, येलो हमको बता रहा है कि वो दिन पर शॉर्ट कवरिंग हुआ. तो अगर हम ये पूरा डेटा देखेंगे तो आप अप्रैल से since 8th of April Nifty hasn't witnessed significant longs. लॉन्ग आया, that's fine, एक ट्रेंड में कभी भी there will be some longs happening, बट अभी ये जो अपमूव आया है ना, ये अभी जो अपमूव आया है वो शॉर्ट कवरिंग के चलते आया है ना. सो यू शुड नॉट बी सरप्राइज कि इफ दिस शॉर्ट कवरिंग डज नॉट सस्टेन, राइट. So you can come at the built up, you can see the historical built up, मतलब कोई भी स्टॉक के लिए you can see how the trend of a stock is, right. So आप absolute OI देखेंगे. What is this absolute OI? So we have a lot of confusion that what is absolute OI. मतलब हमारा काफी सारा family members of ours who are pro users, they ask us frequently what is absolute OI. Short is what? Price going down, OI going up. That's a short build up. But how much quantum the OI was added, that is also important, right? Up move came, up move आया, there was very small short covering which came in the market. Long हुआ, there was a long built up in market. You see the quantum is very small. यहाँ पर long हुआ, the quantum was very small, there was continuation of a down move. So right now we are placed at such a level where we are seeing a lot of shorts, but the longs are not coming in with conviction. So we might not be very surprised if there is a down move again which comes in, right? Because there are not a lot of follow-up longs which are coming in the system. This helps us in forming a firm bias on the markets ahead. Okay, so let's check for Bank Nifty. Then we will move towards first strategy, which is on expiry day trading, which we might try to initiate based on our own risk appetite. So this is how Bank Nifty's OI data plays that. Again, unclean, there are not a lot of fresh longs or shorts happening, which tells you that, okay, the Bank Nifty's OI data is placed in such a way where neither the bulls are convinced, right? The down moves are coming in Bank Nifty, but they are not led by fresh shorts. Also, the longs which are coming in, they are not coming in with aggression. And recently there has been no OI addition which has been seen, or I would say no long or short built up which has been seen since 12th of May till the current day. So 12th of May, just to confirm the date, Thursday. So since Thursday, at least एक हफ्ता होने आया, एक भी दिन ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि long या short हुआ, which means the participants are not really sure, right? So what we are trying to achieve? So we first understood the delta concept. We understood how we can form a bias on the market. By the way, to be honest, this thing will help you more in trading directional, but I showed you just because I wanted to. Okay, this thing ideally might help you more towards when you are trading directional. Now Nifty pay, you know that, okay, a lot of shorts have happened in the system which have not been covered yet. Whenever there are longs, they are not coming in with a lot of conviction, number one. Number two, we saw Bank Nifty wherein the data was, I would say, not highly on either of the side. Matlab the participants are not sure, there are not a lot of fresh participation happening. Now let's go to OI data. Why we are doing this? Because it is very prudent for us to do this analysis, especially on an expiry day. 19th of May, kal ka expiry. Okay? So again, how uniquely this data is placed at. So there is some kind of OY changes which are happening over here. Bank Nifty. Green color bar showing you call OI, red color bar showing you put OI. The brighten tip shows you addition. जो टिप ब्राइट हुआ है ना वो आपको बताता है ऐड हुआ है, कॉल राइटर्स या पुट राइटर्स आए हैं. ग्रीन कलर बार बता रहा है कॉल राइटर्स आए, रेड कलर बार बता रहा है पुट राइटर्स है वो स्ट्राइक. तो ना अभी ऑब्जर्व द 34,000 स्ट्राइक प्राइस. ठीक है, 34,000 स्ट्राइक प्राइस का पुट अगर हम ऑब्जर्व करेंगे तो वहां पर सिग्निफिकेंट अनवाइंडिंग हम कह सकते हैं जहां हमें देखने मिला है 34,000 पर. लेकिन बात यह है ना कि कॉल राइटर भी अनवाइंड किए. सो हम क्या कह सकते हैं इन सच टाइप ऑफ सिनारियोस कि नीदर द कॉल राइटर्स आर कॉन्फिडेंट, कॉल राइटर्स हैव आल्सो अनवाइंडेड, द पुट राइटर्स हैव आल्सो अनवाइंडेड. इवन द हिस्टोरिकल बिल्टअप्स टेल अस द सेम थिंग कि कॉल एंड पुट राइटर्स, और आई वुड से ओवाई जो हमने हिस्टोरिकल फ्यूचर्स डेटा देखा ना, द futures OI historical that we saw, even that told us the same thing, that there are no fresh participation happening in the OI data since a week. Now, if we observe this closely, this straddle of 34,000, it also witnesses an unwinding. Directly, if you see, there is no call addition, neither put addition. It is happening at very small strikes over there. Majorly put addition comes at 33,000. Matlab, there is no clean trend, I would say, which put the participants are following over here in Bank Nifty. So it's very fine to have such type of data, right? That if there is no clean view, then don't necessarily go ahead and match the view. आपको call option buy करना है तो data match मत करिएगा. Okay. So now, yeah, here is where Nifty's data comes into play. Wherein 16,200 ka put witnessed an OI shedding, or I would say call option witnessed an OI unwinding. So call writers on 16,200 are unwinding and put writers are adding. So the support somewhere is getting strengthened at 16,200 and the heaviest put stands at 16,000. So we should not be surprised if market goes down below this level and stands, takes a support around 16,000. So if we see tomorrow that there is an addition happening on call and unwinding happening on put, which is the vice versa scenario of the current data which we are looking at, we might see a down move. What we want to observe, unwindings happening on put and additions happening on call, there might be a down move. Up move happening around 16,300 and 16,400 and 16,500 is the zone where it might expect hurdle. But if you see, no immediate put writers except 16,200 are ready to write that put. Directly the put stands at 16,000 strike price over here. So now you have a bias, a directional bias too, as well as now you know the theta is going to decay at a faster pace and also the delta is going to decay. So now what we conclude from this analysis is, in Bank Nifty, the participants are not sure. We looked at options data as well as futures data. There was no clean move or a clean bulls or bears dominated move is something what we observed. Then we looked at options data for Nifty, which told us that if 16,200, if that is not hold, if that Nifty doesn't hold around there tomorrow, we might see a support around 16,000 straight away. Okay. For that, the condition is that the puts should unwind and the call writers should bring in and sell more of these calls. But even if there is an up move, Nifty might struggle around 16,300 till 16,500, 16,300, 400. We see that there is significant call writings happening on the upside. Also, the historical build-ups that we saw for Nifty that again told us that whenever there are longs happening in the system, they are not happening with a significant quantum. The quantum was very less, but whenever shorts are coming in the system, they are happening with a very conviction. So now let's try to go ahead and build a strategy, which is first we will look out for option writers perspective. The reason being that theta and the delta, which we already understood. Before that, I would appreciate if everybody has got an idea about what we are trying to achieve from this and what we are going to do tomorrow. And if everybody has got an idea about what the overall market structure, how it is placed at. If everybody hits the like button, if you drop a like button, I can know that okay, so far whatever I have discussed, it's going pretty good. Any doubts or queries, post it out in the chat box. Okay, so to summarize it in Hindi, so meanwhile I'll just go through your chats first. Sideways market beneficial for market, is it going to? So no, I am trying to first explain in English and then try to summarize it in Hindi. So I would appreciate if everybody hits posts a thumbs up button in the chat before I show you a strategy. Meanwhile, I'll summarize it in Hindi for our users. So the thing out here is what we, तो हाँ, तो हिंदी में बताने के लिए तो हमने निफ्टी का जो हिस्टोरिकल बिल्टअप देखा, तो उससे कुछ कंक्लूजन ऐसा आया ना कि जब जब शॉर्ट आ रहा है बाजार में, वो एक सिग्निफिकेंट क्वांटम के साथ आ रहा है, लॉन्ग आ रहा है वो क्वांटम बहुत छोटा था। तो ये हमें रेड कलर शॉर्ट बता रहा है, ब्लूज लॉन्ग अनवाइंडिंग्स बता रहे हैं, ग्रीन लॉन्ग एंड येलो शॉर्ट कवरिंग। तो इसके चलते हमको ये नजर आता है कि अगर ये शॉर्ट कवरिंग की वजह से मार्केट मूव अपटिक जो आया है निफ्टी में, सो हमको सरप्राइज नहीं होना चाहिए कि यहाँ से अगर मूव वो सस्टेन नहीं होता है ना, बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ शॉर्ट्स आर देयर इन द सिस्टम। हाँ, अभी पूरा ट्रेंड होने के लिए हमको शॉर्ट कवरिंग के बाद एक लॉन्ग्स का वेट करना ही पड़ेगा, जहां पर हम कह सकते हैं ओके कि यहाँ पर एक लॉन्ग ट्रेंड चालू हुआ है निफ्टी में। ठीक है, बैंक निफ्टी डेटा का अगर हम बात करेंगे, तो बैंक निफ्टी डेटा में कुछ ऐसा सिनारियो है कि रिसेंटली पार्टिसिपेशन कुछ है नहीं, तो पार्टिसिपेंट्स आर इटसेल्फ और देमसेल्व्स अनश्योर, मतलब वो ना लॉन्ग कर रहे हैं ना ज्यादा शॉर्ट हो रहा है बैंक निफ्टी में, है ना। तो पिछला एक हफ्ता में कुछ ऐसा ज्यादा ट्रेंड नहीं हुआ बैंक निफ्टी, आई वुड से कि वो देखिए पिछला हफ्ता में था अराउंड 34,700 के आसपास, 34,140, 500 पॉइंट का ही डाउन मूव आया है, नीचे जाकर के फिर ऊपर आया है ना। अभी हम ऑप्शंस डेटा के बारे में बात करेंगे बैंक निफ्टी एंड निफ्टी का। तो बैंक निफ्टी का हमने डेटा देखा था, तो जहां पर एटीएम स्ट्राइक के आसपास कॉल एंड पुट राइटर्स दोनों अनवाइंड कर रहे हैं, राइट। तो ये 34,000 के स्ट्राइक पर दोनों भी अनवाइंड कर रहे हैं जने। तो जो हमको ये बताता है कि नीदर द कॉल राइटर्स आर श्योर और पुट राइटर्स आर श्योर। तो अगेन जो फ्यूचर्स डेटा कह रहा है समथिंग लाइक दैट, इवन द ऑप्शन डेटा हैज टू स्पीक। दैट डज नॉट मीन कि मार्केट कल अटक जाएगा, बट दैट इंस्टेड मीन्स दैट द पार्टिसिपेंट्स आर अनश्योर। ठीक है, यहाँ पर अगर हम देखें बैंक निफ्टी का, तो सॉरी निफ्टी का एटीएम पुट पर एक ओआई है, बट अगर ये ओआई ये लेवल सस्टेन नहीं हो जाता है, निफ्टी अभी ट्रेड हो रहा है 16,250 235 पे क्लोज हुआ, तो यहाँ से अगर ये लेवल सस्टेन नहीं हो जाता है, देन वी माइट एक्सपेक्ट एंड अगर हम सरप्राइज नहीं होने चाहिए 16,000 का डाउन मूव हमें दिखता है, तो गिवन दैट की हिस्टोरिकल बिल्टअप्स आर showing a lot of shots। अगर हम अपटिक्स की बात करेंगे 16,300, 16,400 एंड 16,500, इसके आसपास हमको एक रेजिस्टेंस तो मेजर है 16,500। तो ये था हमारा एक काइंड ऑफ, आप कह सकते हैं कि हमने एक डायरेक्शनल व्यू इज समथिंग व्हाट वी ट्राई टू लुक एट द दिस पर्टिकुलर टूल। सो वी क्लिक्ड ऑन बिल्ट अप एंड ओपन इंटरेस्ट, तो ये दो ही टूल हमने अभी तक यूज किए। अभी आते हैं हमारा स्ट्रैटेजी पर। सो एक बार मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि why we are doing this, because so to be honest option writing is one of the most riskiest strategies you can do. Only if you have risk appetite and only if you can manage that trade, you can obviously should consult your financial advisors before doing any sorts of trading. But this is something what, if the data supports the parameters what we are discussing, then you can try to observe this thing in the market how it works, and over the period of time, the moment you gain confidence, you can try to go ahead and take some paper trades at first instance, and then maybe try to initiate if you have some confidence. Okay, so what we are trying to do is, as the theta is going to decay fast and the delta also of the options is going to decay, so ATM straddle, okay, something we can go ahead and try to sell. We can create strangles too. Okay, we will look at that, अगर strangle करते हैं तो क्या होता है। बट एटीएम स्ट्रैडल का फायदा ये है ना कि ऑप्शन जो थीटा हो रहा है, ठीक है, तो थीटा कुछ ऐसा मूव होता है ना। तो थीटा ऐसा है कि ऐसा फ्लो होते ही जाता है, वो ऑप्शन में से जाता ही जाएगा। एक्सपायरी डे पर क्या होता है कि थीटा जो है वो आपका ऑप्शन प्रीमियम में से जाता रहेगा। तो अभी जो आपका ये कंबाइंड कॉल एंड पुट है, जो लगभग 150 रुपया के आसपास है, 153 रुपीज, और हाँ, तो वह 150 रुपए के आसपास ये जो थीटा है आपका और प्रीमियम है आपका, इसमें से ना कल मार्केट ओपन होने के बाद पहला तो ये 150 रुपए पे खुलेगा नहीं, ये उससे नीचे खुलेगा क्योंकि थीटा डीके होकर ही खुलेगा वो, ठीक है। दूसरा चीज ये है ना कि ऑप्शन डीके होता जाएगा आपका दिन भर दिन, जितना आप होल्ड करेंगे डेली में ही, मतलब ड्यूरिंग द डे इटसेल्फ the premium is going to get decayed at a rapid pace. The reason being it is expiry, there is not a lot of time left for this options or some of this option to go to go out of the money, right? So the theta decays at a very rapid pace on the expiry. So what we are trying to capitalize on is this theta. So before we initiate this strategy, what we need to do is, number one, we need to make sure that the market is oscillating. When the market is flat, जब बाजार में कुछ momentum नहीं होता है ना, that's the best time to do this type of strategy. Number one. Number two thing is, don't do this exactly at 950. 9:15 को मत कीजिएगा इसको. Try to do it somewhere around 9:45 or maybe 10. ठीक है? Why? We are letting the opening hour momentum to happen. So you all might be knowing, okay, that opening hour witnesses heaviest momentum, right? So what we are trying to achieve is, we are letting the momentum to pass by. जो opening hour का momentum है, जो volatility है, we are letting the opening hour momentum to pass by. Then we are trying to enter into such type of situations when the theta is also decaying and also the market is in a flat zone. मतलब market में ज़्यादा कुछ activity नहीं हो रहा है. Especially first thing is identify that the market is kind of oscillating for such type of strategies. So market, the moment 9:45 10 के बीच में, when you try to initiate such type of strategies, you are first now got ridden of, I would say you have left that earlier momentum behind, right? You are not afraid of that opening hour momentum. What happens is, ideally opening hour में market इतना positive negative हो जाता है that option writers lose a lot of money there, right? So instead of that, let the opening hour momentum pass by. Then ATM strike price, okay, and ATM straddle, if you sell it where you are going to get approximately around 70 to 90 rupees of theta or 90 rupees of premium, you are going to cruise that trade, okay? You are going to cruise that trade because the theta, you know, that is going to decay your option premium, number one. Number second thing is, and which is the key of this strategy, that one of this option premium, even if the market trends, one of this option premium is going to get zero. Second rule is that, you know, as I only said before, that the delta for an OTM option will decay at a faster pace on an expiry day, right? We only try to understand it together. So if market trends on either of the side, if it trends very drastically, then you need to exit. But if I'm saying that if market starts to move slowly and steadily on either of the side, the opposite strike price of yours, if the market starts to go upwards, the put option will go out of the money, and even the delta of that put option will kind of keep on decaying, resulting that the delta will decay of an OTM put very fast, rapidly, because the time is not left in that particular expiry, right? So now you have an advantage of three things. First thing, theta. Second thing is the time which is decaying at a very faster pace, and also the delta of that option which is decaying at a faster pace. Third thing is, if market trends on either of the side and one of your option is going to go out of the money, that option delta will decay at a faster pace because the time left to expiry is very, very less. Okay. So this is why we are trying to do this. But to be honest, if you are going to monitor this in the live market, try to only, you know, observe such type of scenarios only, or I would say capitalize on such type of scenarios only if you are active. But if you are not active, I would say don't try to do that, because a fast move in either of the side might take away your entire PNL. So be cautious about that. Second thing is, set a stop loss of 30% of your premium. 150 rupees aaya. Okay. So let me calculate. So we have got 110 plus 40. We have 150 rupees of premium. Okay. Wherein I want to calculate 30% of it. So 45 rupees is the stop loss which you will set for your this trade. Okay. Whenever this combined premium is right now at 150, whenever option goes up till 200 rupees, okay, 200 rupees के आसपास ये combined premium जाएगा call and put. That's the time you can say that okay, my position, the market has started to trend, I might exit. Okay, if you have a low risk appetite, but if you have a very low risk appetite, don't do this because your stop loss might get triggered very easily. Okay, so for an instance, if the premium is at 150, then if you want to calculate the stop loss, if your risk appetite is 25%, then you can for sure do this. Okay, so 20% is, say, let me just do it once again. So 150 into 25, okay, so 37. मतलब अभी 150 का option है. If it goes up till above 185, that's the time you can exit, because that has shown you that the markets have started to trend. Okay, so this is how, using this, you can try to capitalize on the theta which is decaying and also the delta which might decay of an OTM option. Same thing can be done for OTM calls and puts too. That is also fine. Okay, even that can be done with the same rule. But the problem is the premium you get might be very less. So आप कर सकते हैं. The rules will be same, but the premiums you get over there will be very, very less. Now coming to the most important part, we understood entry, that market should be sideways. Second thing, we understood that that we should try to initiate this around 9:45, 10 p.m. 10 a.m. के आसपास. So important factor is when we are going to exit this strategy. Number one, try to exit it somewhere around 1:30. 1:30 से लेकर 1 से लेकर 2 बजे के आसपास, wherever you are getting a significant return, try to exit this strategy. Why? Because then you are also picking a gamma risk. You have sold both call and put options, right? कुछ तो वो point ऐसा आएगा, like there will be some point in your strategy where one of your option might have decayed already a lot, right? But if that option starts to move higher, you're going to make a very significant loss, right? So because you want to avoid your gamma risk, and everybody knows it that gamma wakes up on the expiry and it is an enemy of an option seller. So try to exit this strategy anywhere before 2 p.m. Okay, 2 बजे के पहले try to exit this strategy wherever you are getting significant. उसका exact time कुछ नहीं है. Wherever you are getting a significant return, try to exit this strategy. Okay. So this is how what we are trying to do. Strangles, say you can do it for sure. Strangles will be much more safer option than this, but the premiums you will receive will be very, very less. Okay, that is the only problem. Okay, and by the way, just to show you all one thing, which is the hook, I would say, of doing this strategy. So which is implied volatility. IVs, they have corresponding impacts on our premium. IVs goes down, call option premium goes down, put option premium goes down. So I am on implied volatility chart. If you see the IVP of Nifty, it is placed at 82 percentile, which means 82 percentile of the times historically Nifty's IV were trading below the current level, right? So in this graph, the orange color line is showing you the implied volatility, the green color line is showing you the futures price of Nifty. Okay, the historical futures price. It is showing you how on day basis Nifty's implied volatility and the futures price behave. So if you see this particular level now, so Nifty's IVs are also not exactly at the upper regime. है ना, मतलब एकदम भी spiked up नहीं है कि I am worried about the volatility to go ahead and write options. But exactly bottom पे भी नहीं है that I am worried about the volatility spiking up. So it is placed at a spot where it is not exactly at the highest level or neither at the lowest level. It is mildly on an upper level. That tells you that if IVs also collapse, okay, listen to me carefully. If you see this graph, it's showing me that on 16,325, I might make a PNL of 367 rupees today. If implied volatility goes down, I will start to make more profit on the same level. Okay, if you see slight up move which happened in the curve. So if you see that I am making a profit of 1,874 rupees on the same level, the reason being the implied volatility has collapsed, and yeah, then Basically it took down your call premium and put premium both. Okay, so now what we understood from implied volatility right now is that currently for tomorrow's expiry, the implied volatility is placed on a level where it is collapsing. So if the implied volatility is collapsing, that tells you that, okay, it might take away my call and put premium both. So time is taking your premium. Then we understood the delta is also taking away your OTM calls and puts premium. Then we understood that even the implied volatility is taking away your call and put premium. Some of the thumb rules for the strategies, try to do only if you're active in the market and you can manage that strategy. Number one. Number two, if you're not ready to take an undefined risk, just go ahead and buy calls and put options and convert it into a butterfly. Elsewhere, you might follow a rule of maybe 25 to 30% or 25 to 35% of your option premium as a stop loss. Whenever it gets hit, you can exit. If the strategy gives you significant return till from 1 to 2 p.m., that's the time you can exit. Okay. If it does not work, just exit based on a 30% stop loss. So that's how we can go ahead and manage this, and also we can trade effectively. But the reason being, not a big fan of option writing, but the reason is because it gives an undefined loss, right? So the reason this strategy is why we are analyzing it is because the Greeks are in our favor, the implied volatility is going in our favor, right? So if the data suggests me, then why not, right? So this is how you can go ahead and try to do. So that's the reason we are trying to set a stop loss of my screen is not visible. Hopefully my screen is visible. Yes, that's the reason we are following a rule of 25 to 35% of stop loss based on our own risk appetite. So IVP, we have a lot of videos on this, but I'll try to explain what is IVP, because this IV, which is at 20, that does not tell me where I am placed, where my current implied volatility is placed based on the historical scale, right? ये 20 का जो figure है वो हमको कुछ नहीं बता रहा है. So implied volatility tells you, which is at 82, that 82 percentile of the time, implied volatility of Nifty traded below the current level. Just 20 percentile of the time it was above the current level, which tells you it is around its upper zone. Not exactly at the peak, but we can call it that it is in the upper zone where it is starting to collapse. Okay. So we have a detailed webinar on that too. So for sure you can go through that to have a much more detailed explanation. This session will be specifically on actionable weekly trading. So any doubts till now? कुछ भी डाउट या क्वेरी आप पोस्ट कर सकते हैं इन द चैट बॉक्स. आई विल समराइज इट इन हिंदी. हमने क्या समझने का कोशिश किया कि डेल्टा, थीटा, आईवी, ये तीनों चीज कैसे बिहेव होता है हमने वो समझा. तो थीटा एक्सपायरी के टाइम पे बहुत ज्यादा, एक्सपायरी दिन पे बहुत ज्यादा तेज डीके होगा, जिसके वजह से हमारा एक कॉल एंड पुट प्रीमियम तेजी से टूटता जाएगा, है ना. इट विल कीप ऑन डीकेइंग. सो हमको क्या करना है ना, बेसिकली एक एटीएम कॉल एंड पुट और एक स्ट्रैंगल. अगर आप एक रिस्क लेने रेडी है, if you go ahead and try to sell it, then you might see that the delta or I would say जो प्रीमियम है आपका वो डीके हो रहा है टाइम के वजह से. तो जो भी आपका कंबाइंड प्रीमियम है, 100 रुपया प्रीमियम आता है, उसका 25 to 35%, मतलब जो भी आपका रिस्क एपेटाइट है अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट आप एक स्टॉप लॉस लगा करके वो ऑप्शन आपका शॉर्ट स्ट्रैडल या स्ट्रैंगल है, मतलब स्ट्रैंगल थोड़ा सेफ होगा क्योंकि उसका डेल्टा भी डीके होता रहेगा. बट उसमें प्रॉब्लम आएगा ना, एक प्रॉब्लम यही है कि प्रीमियम कम बचेगा उसमें. As simple as that. Now we will move towards institutional level data point to go ahead and try to analyze कि breakout कैसे खोजना है. तो एक breakout खोजना कैसे एक्सपायरी वाले दिन पर वो हम समझेंगे, बट उसके पहले I will require some help of yours कि if you have got an idea about what we have understood, then do hit a like button. I would say at least post a thumbs up in the chat so that I come to know that everything what we have discussed is understood. And then we can move forward towards option buying. So to be honest, option buying on an expiry day sounds very interesting, right? Let's go ahead and buy an FAR OTM call. So let's check the premium of an OTM call. I haven't checked it. Then we will move to charts. Where to track it? Okay, exactly. Where to track it, I'll show you. Okay, so यहाँ पर ना, if I see that 16,500 का प्रीमियम है 6 रुपीज, मान लेते हैं 6 रुपया पर ये ऑप्शन बाय किया हमने. ठीक है, हाँ अभी ये बाय द वे, हाँ 10 बजे के बाद आप करेंगे तो फिर तो आपको लेवल पता ही होगा ना, निफ्टी कहाँ ट्रेड हो रहा है, मार्केट कंसोलिडेट हो रहा है या नहीं, तो अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट यू कैन कंसिडर। अभी का जो प्रीमियम है, फॉर आई डिड इट फॉर कैलकुलेशन पर्पसेस, ठीक है। तो ऑप्शन बाइंग में इसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है ना, कि इसका डेल्टा देखिए 0.08 है, तो मतलब निफ्टी को बहुत ज्यादा लंबा सफर ट्रेवल करना पड़ेगा इसमें थोड़ा भी पैसा बनाने को, है ना। तो अभी 6.25 है, ठीक है। एक सिंपल सा कैलकुलेशन करते हैं ना, मतलब लेट्स नॉट डू एनीथिंग ऑफ अ गेस वर्क, लेट्स आस्क द डेटा एंड लेट्स आस्क द ब्लैक एंड शोल्स फॉर्मूला इटसेल्फ, ठीक है। तो 16,500 का कॉल ऑप्शन, अगर वोलेटिलिटी 520 है, ठीक है, 520 मतलब 20 है 500 के स्ट्राइक प्राइस का, तो इसका प्रीमियम बनता है 4 रुपए, ठीक है। इसका डेल्टा देखिए 0.06 है, तो ना यहाँ से बाजार अगर यहाँ से 10 पॉइंट या लेट से 100 पॉइंट ऊपर चले जाता है, ठीक है, 100 पॉइंट ऊपर चले जाने के बाद भी योर यू सी योर प्रीमियम हैज मूव्ड व्हाट 10 रुपीज, है ना। कितना प्रीमियम बढ़ा आपका, 10 रुपया प्रीमियम बढ़ा। 10 रुपया मतलब निफ्टी के केस में 500 रुपए का प्रॉफिट, है ना। आपने पे कितना किया, यू पेड 2000 एंड यू आर गेटिंग जस्ट 500 रुपीज प्रॉफिट, कम से कम 100 पॉइंट मूव आने के बाद। एंड यू कैन इमेजिन कि कितना डिफिकल्ट हो सकता है वो 100 पॉइंट का अपमूव प्रेडिक्ट करने के लिए। सुनने में आसान है ना कि 6 रुपया है जाता है तो कोई बात नहीं, है ना, लेकिन अज्यूम कीजिए कि आप ये ट्रेड फ्रीक्वेंटली लेते हैं, हर एक्सपायरी में जाकर के ये करते हैं, तो यू आर लूजिंग अ लॉट ऑफ मनी, राइट। एंड व्हेनेवर यू आर अर्निंग वेरी लेस। सो आइडिया इज कि वॉच आउट फॉर डेल्टा, कि आपका ऑप्शन डेल्टा कितना है, इज दैट ऑप्शन गोइंग टू पे अस ऑफ और नॉट, राइट। सो या, so I have made a video on ki based on your risk appetite which strike price should you select, so you can go through that. I keep losing due to over trading. Yeah, that's the problem, right? Ki hum, so we already discussed the view. Sell थीटा टीके होगा ना तो ऑप्शन प्रीमियम, अभी हम ऑप्शन बायर्स का ही समझेंगे, ठीक है। सो या, सो थैंक्स अ लॉट फॉर योर कमेंट्स, okay. So I would say that I am sorry if I am not adhering to or addressing all of your queries because I need to complete this. So anyways, तो ये है निफ्टी का चार्ट 16,100 का कॉल ऑप्शन। ये हमने क्या प्लॉट किया है, ये हमने प्लॉट किया है निफ्टी का प्रीमियम, जब इसका अपना जो ये 16,100 का कॉल ऑप्शन था 131 रुपीज पर, है ना। 131 रुपीज पर जब ऑप्शन था, अगर हम देखें तो बायर इनिशिएटेड क्वांटिटी बहुत ज्यादा आ रहा था, ठीक है। सो दिस इज ऑप्शन चार्ट ऑफ निफ्टी 16,100 कॉल and it has witnessed aggressive buying on the ask price. How I come to know that? So there is an indicator in order trade book, order and trade analytics in our application, which is buyer initiated quantity, which tells you how that instrument is behaving, or I would say it helps us in analyzing the order book data of that instrument. Okay. So I'm opening Nifty's chart right now. So agar option selling ke liye, if I want to explain, so this is something what you want tomorrow, right? If you are selling options. Now anyways, coming back, this is Nifty's price. I am using this indicator, which is buyer initiated quantity. What is buyer initiated quantity? Buyer initiated quantity is number of trades, okay? Number of trades bought by the buyers on the ask price, okay? Then we have another indicator, which is seller initiated quantity. Number of trades sold by the sellers on the bid price. Now, whenever we see an order book, okay, a market depth, which a lot of brokers provide, and a lot of them provide top 20 buyers and sellers. But to be honest, thus top 20 buyer and sellers, they give you an idea about how the instrument is going to behave. Nifty and Bank Nifty, especially Bank Nifty, one of the most heavily traded instrument, not in India, but in the entire world. Are these top 20 buyers and sellers going to tell you anything? The answer to that is simple, right? It might not tell you a lot. Instead, the entire analysis of the entire order book make much more sense. So what we are trying to achieve, we are trying to do exactly the same thing with the help of the order book indicators over here. But today we will keep it limited just for two indicators, which is buyer initiated quantity and seller initiated quantity. What is buyer initiated quantity? The number of trades bought by the buyers on the ask price. Okay, which means that if I'm a buyer, okay, whether I am a fresh buyer or an existing sold positions is getting bought on the market, okay, either a fresh buyer or an seller who is buying back his sold position, if he is covering it on the market price, if he is covering it on the ask price, if he is buying it on the ask price, it tells you that he is convinced that there might be an up move, right? If I'm a fresh buyer, if I'm buying it directly on the market price, it tells me that, okay, I am convinced with that trade idea. I'm ready to go ahead and buy it. Number one. Number two scenario is if a seller is buying it back, a seller is squaring off his position on the market price, it tells you he's in panic. Panic is a further up move which might come in, right? So these things, they give you a much more clearer picture about the bulls and the bears and their conviction. More the number of buyer initiated quantities, more convinced the buyers are to they're going ahead and buying it on the market price, more convinced the bulls are. More the number of seller initiated quantities, it shows you that convinced the bears are, they are going ahead and selling it on the market price. Okay, so let me just show you one scenario. So I had this move, we can try to observe a lot, but I am showing you which we had posted to. So this is on 17th of May 11:25. Okay, yesterday. So it says 17th of May 11:25. So let's turn buyers to green, because I am not here to get confused looking at the numbers. No, nowhere we should go ahead and get confused with the numbers. Okay, so first let's adjust the scale by dragging it down. Okay, now am I going ahead and trading frequently? क्या हमको जाकर के रोज जाकर के देखना है, हर टिक में जाकर के देखना है कोई ट्रेड बन रहा है या नहीं? No, we will not go ahead and observe every tick कि ये टिक में बायर ज्यादा है या सेलर ज्यादा है, I will go ahead and buy. No, if it would have been that simple, everybody would have went ahead and seen that, okay, यहाँ पर the buyers are good, I will buy here, and if the sellers are more over here, I will sell here, right? It will not work that way. What we need to do is something which is flat, and suddenly if it witnesses aggressive buying happening on the market price or aggressive selling on the happening on the market price, that's the time we can consider that, okay, someone is taking a control, right? So if you see that the quantities bought over here on the market price was as low as 8 to 10,000, right? The quantity is getting bought on the market price since 9:36 till 10, which is 45 minutes. In last 45 minutes, an average quantity getting bought on the market price was as low as 8 to 15,000, right? Suddenly that is getting bought on the market price at 96,000. So looking at this data, anybody who has recently introduced in the market can tell that buyers have picked up the control, be it a fresh buyer or be it an existing position getting squared off. If it is happening on the market price, that tells you that either there is a panic of an further up move, or either the fresh buyer is convinced of an further up move. There is a huge breakout happening in buyer initiated quantity. Sellers, are they dominating? No. The futures price kept on moving higher. Nowhere throughout the day we saw an aggressive buying or selling happening, or I would say aggressive selling happening on the market price. Now, especially for sellers, if you see, this is the actual move that happened on Nifty, right? But later on, it went on flat. There was no momentum happening in the market. So this is the time where option sellers are getting the cream work, the time-wise correction which is happening. Then again, there is a kind of some breakout happening in Nifty. Then again, Nifty starts to move higher, right? Jab tak there is no aggressive buying and selling happening on the market price, the markets have gone sideways. So now what we are trying to understand is, if you have sold options, ठीक है, मतलब कल के दिन option sellers also listen this, that if you have sold option, right, now you are in profit. But if you see now, suddenly something like this happened, that buyer initiated picks up the pace or seller initiated trades picks up the pace. Try to exit your position, right? Or at least be very cautious, because someone has bought very aggressively on the market price. Someone, which means not individual party, but obviously something is getting bought aggressively on the market price. They are expecting and further up, right? And the important part is not just breakout. We need to see. We need to also see that that breakout sustains, and the breakout is sustaining exactly what we are seeing right now. And if we see the seller initiated trades, there are very few sellers selling it on the bid, telling us that okay, there might be an up move, right? The stop loss, if you're entering such type of trades, you might consider a low of previous 3 candles, or maybe whenever there is an aggressive selling happening on the bid price, that's the time you can exit. Or maybe based on your risk appetite, you can try to exit. Now, how you can use this data additionally is not necessary. This is how independently order trade data can be used. Second thing is, if you are technical analysis, so if you might be using 10, 20, 30 moving average, VWAP, you might be using MSC, anything. If your technical analysis gives you a sell over here, order book data also, or I would say technical analysis gives you a buy over here, and even the order trade book data also tells you the same thing. That's the point you can say that, okay, the conviction of the market is same as what you are thinking. So this is how, looking at that, you can do this. Okay. If you are taking a buy trade, a low of previous 3 candles, or maybe looking at the charts, you can consider that. And if you are taking a sell trade, so high of previous 3 candles and opposite party dominating, that's where you will exit. Option sellers, whenever you see that there is a sudden huge breakout in buyer initiated or seller initiated quantity, that is the time you can consider that they are expecting, participants are expecting and good up move from there. Now what we need to do for an option buyer, pehle to always check futures data first, then come to option data of that chart. 19 May 22, 16,300 call. ATM call option or put option. If the market is going upwards, plot ATM call. If the market is going downwards, plot ATM put. Okay. Then don't look at seller initiated quantity, because you need to find out how the change in buyer initiated quantity, the quantities which are getting bought on the market price, how the change is happening in that. Okay. So just to show you some data or some historical analysis on 17th of May, what I have observed. Okay. So 11:25. So just to show you all. Okay. So 11:25 is somewhere where the futures data showed an exponential buying happening on the ask. So the price of that option was 49 rupees. So you can plot 16,200 call. So let's check for 16,200 or 16,100, that was, right? Okay. Time frame, try to use at it, get comfortable first with the 5 minutes data, and then try to combine it kind of 1 minute data. Okay. So exponential buying happening. 10-15 tak, if you see very small buying happening around 65,000, then it suddenly jumped up to 3,18,000. So this is what we need to fetch. We need to fetch how the changes are happening, and based on those changes we need to capitalize. Okay. If you see at 11:25, the futures data helped us that okay, there is aggressive buying happening on the ask price when the option price was around 130k range. Okay. Continuous buying happening on the market price. Okay. This is the time where option sellers might try to capitalize on, where the option is getting tracked. Okay. The option, it closed all the way till 294 or 280. But I'm not saying कि उतना बड़ा move आपको चाहिए. I'm saying even at 11:25, where the futures data was giving you a clear cut indication, and even if you try to participate somewhere around this zone, still, even if you get an exit around 180, I'm not saying that that is a bad move, right? So this is how, looking at the futures data, you can go ahead and try to go ahead and try to combine, check the futures data, then check the options data. And on top of that, I witnessed an unwinding happening on an ATM call option. Now the question was how to merge that, double click, drag. Why unwinding? Price going up, buying happening on the market price. So can I say that the buying which is happening on the market price, the short covering which is taking place, it is taking place on the market price. The reason being, I am saying huge buyer initiated trades over here. So that's how I can trade expiries better. Now, why specifically we are using this tool on expiries too? The reason is that a seller might get trapped badly on an expiry day. So the simplest of ways of exiting his position would be to go ahead and exit it at the market price. So that is something what we are trying to find out. Okay. तो जस्ट टू समराइज इट इन हिंदी, हमने क्या कोशिश किया कि हमने एक इंस्टीट्यूशनल लेवल डेटा देखा जहां पर हमको एक ब्रेकआउट दिखता है बायर इनिशिएटेड या सेलर इनिशिएटेड क्वांटिटी में. दैट्स द टाइम आई वुड से दैट ओके द बुल्स और बेयर्स हैव पिक्ड अप द पेस एंड या आई नीड टू, हम जाकर के एक एक कैंडल को कंपेयर करेंगे तो कभी ट्रेड नहीं मिलेगा. हमको क्या करना है, कुछ चीज जो खरीदा नहीं जा रहा है या बेचा नहीं जा रहा है वो सडनली मार्केट प्राइस पर खरीदा या बेचा जाता है. दैट्स द टाइम हम ये कह सकते हैं कि बुल्स ने, अगर खरीदा जा रहा है बुल्स ने कंट्रोल ले रहे हैं एंड बेचा जा रहा है तो बेयर्स कंट्रोल ले रहे हैं. देन फर्दर एटीएम कॉल, अगर बाजार ऊपर जा रहा है तो एटीएम कॉल का हम ये प्लॉट कर सकते हैं ऑप्शन डेटा एंड उसमें बायर इनिशिएटेड ट्रेड्स आ रहा है या नहीं, अलॉन्ग विथ ओवाई कर्व हम देख सकते हैं. सो जिससे क्या होगा, एक एटीएम डेल्टा भी सिग्निफिकेंट होगा, नंबर वन. नंबर टू, आप जबरदस्ती इतना दूर का ओटीएम में ट्रेड नहीं ले रहे जो जीरो ही होने वाला है. तीसरा चीज, अगर ये मूव आता है that move might be very fast. Okay. And then we saw an historical I would say explanation of how this thing, agar if I would say that if doing continuously, what it helps us is in that frequently doing this, it will help you in being so fast that 11:25 ko we catch, then 12:20 something what we said that okay we upheld the message with saying the option made an high of 154. So yeah, so that's how you will try to go ahead and achieve this, and then eventually it kept on moving higher. Okay. So what you can do is, so let me just explain you for index contributors. Yes, an additional good point added. So आप save कर सकते हैं position. Okay. So you can save this position by whatever name you want to. My positions में जाकर के आपका जो straddles triangles है, you can go ahead and see that. So I have saved this just to show you all. And उसका आप strategy chart open कर सकते हैं. इसके आपको combined premium आपको पता लगेगा कि आपका ये जो combined call and put का जोड़ी आपने जो खरीदा या बेचा है उसका प्रीमियम कैसे बिहेव हो रहा है. So it is showing me the premium chart. So ये long straddle है. तो अगर आप इसका थीटा देखेंगे, it is decaying constantly, right? So if I just plot it over here and अगर मैं इसका टाइम फ्रेम बढ़ा देता हूँ, ये 1 मिनट पे बहुत छोटा हो जाएगा, 15 मिनट पे अगर हम देखेंगे तो देखिए बाजार इतना ट्रेंड होने के बाद भी, मार्केट इतना ट्रेंड होने के बावजूद भी ये प्रीमियम 440.55 से 148 पर आ गया है. ये क्या बता रहा है कि ये स्ट्रैटेजी का, ये पूरा स्ट्रैटेजी के लिए प्रीमियम कैसे बिहेव हो रहा है. इट इज शोइंग मी हाउ माय पोजिशनल ग्रीक्स आर बिहेविंग. So you can save your strategy in the architect too and track how it has been behaving and how it is behaving and how the Greeks are behaving. So yes, I will keep this session open for next few minutes. So we understood for buyer's perspective as well as seller's perspective. So wait for a very drastic breakout to happen in buyer initiated or seller initiated. हर candle पे जाकर के trade मत बनाइएगा. That might not make a lot of sense. Okay. Meanwhile, we team Quantsapp, we are keeping this continuing process of keeping our family members ahead of the industry's learning curve, and that's the reason we are doing this webinar. So I would appreciate if everybody hits the like button and also drop a comment, whatever you feel like. So it helps us in eventually reaching out to more and more people, and also it also motivates us when we see an appreciative comment. And apart from that, learn and earn is something what we follow at Quantsapp. So we are doing this workshops across our country, wherein you can find all the details over here. So the workshop's agenda is to equip the participants with the necessary information and to equip them with a systematic approach of trading options. So in Ahmedabad, there would be an workshop conducted by our CEO, Mr. Shubham Agarwal, wherein option writing, sabka favorite, is going to be discussed and shown to us, like how we can go ahead and write options intraday, but in a systematic and a mathematical way. And we will have some data to support that. And Shubham sir is going to explain us how, in a systematic way, how we can go ahead and write options. So, and complete cycle of writing options intraday is something what we are going to learn. So you can all register it. So the fee is as low as your one PNL, which is 1,500 or 1,499 to be precise, of which 100,000 rupees is going to be refunded in your Quantsapp account as e-credits, which can be further used. So yes, I would say that was it from my side. Thank you so much for joining over here. And yeah, I would say that was it from my side. Have a happy trading session ahead, and have a happy expiry trading session tomorrow. So trade QOI is basically open interest for that particular option. Okay. Option, or so it will show you the OI curve. So I'll go through some queries. Okay. So it's short. I'm not saying long. It was short, right? We are selling calls and puts both. थीटा जा रहा है तो आप खरीद के क्या करेंगे? वो ऑप्शन आपका ज्यादा नुकसान हो जाएगा. We don't give any sorts of I would say recommendations or any sorts of advisory. So thanks a lot.